Let's go! Who's up next?
Welcome, Internet, to the Xbox Empire podcast, part of the Play Some Video Games network of podcasts. I'm Elaine. Donnie is here, and once again, we are joined by the wonderful Jeff Grubb. Hi, Jeff.
Hello, how's it going?
You know, it's Friday night. That's great.
Yeah.
Do we have weekends anymore? Does that feel like it? No. You got kids, you know. There's no weekends.
Honestly, yeah, I was just trying to get some exercise in before I was doing this, and most of that exercise was honestly just chasing the kids around instead, because of course they're making messes and causing problems. But there's one right now. Hi,
I love them.
Yeah, mine actually. I have an exercise bike out in the garage, and mine enjoy opening the door because mine are a little older and being like, "You're doing great, Mom," and then slamming the door. I'm like, "Thanks, high five." They're like, "Also, you're very sweaty." I'm like, "Oh, I'm aware."
Mm-hmm.
It's just. Like, yeah, it's 4,000 degrees out here. So, you know. So besides that, man, you playing video games or are you just in it with PRE-E3 mess?
Yeah, I'm playing some video games. I played some Biomutant. I played some games I can't talk about quite yet, but in a couple weeks. It's early, but it's so it's like, oh man, I won't be able to talk about that game for a long time. But I played Biomutant and I thought it was okay. It's an okay game. It's fine. Like I think it is a good proof of concept that a developer of 20 people can make one of those, can make a map game, and maybe one day we won't need the Ubisofts of the world to make them for us every year. Small teams can do it themselves using a bunch of tools that will get better over time, and that's exciting because we've seen that happen with genre after genre where at a certain point these big studios, big publishers, they get sick of making these things because they don't make quite as much money as they used to, or they get real expensive, and they feel like they're going to get left behind, but it turns out no, the smaller studios will find a way to fill in those voids over time. It feels like we're kind of ahead of the curve here, where already a relatively small studio is figuring this out. And I think from that point of view, it's actually pretty impressive. It's only so fun, and it's only so interesting. That stuff kind of falls off pretty quick.
Yeah, I also have been playing this game.
So I bought it and just haven't played it yet because that's the story of my entire life lately. It's just because there's so much stuff, but and also I've gotten myself distracted by old games again. But I mean, word of mouth was good enough that I was like, supporting a smaller studio that's trying to do the thing and will evolve to better the thing over time. Like, I'm okay with that. I have no trouble spending a couple of extra bucks, on that at the moment. So how do you feel about it, Donnie?
I've only played it for about 4 or 5 hours. Everything Jeff just said is absolutely true. I didn't know actually until listening to his show that it was made by 20 people. That's actually quite astonishing. Like when you view
really
this game, when you view this game through this prism, it does a lot of things right, but it's hard. I think it's difficult as I've listened to podcasters try this week. I do think it's difficult to talk about this game without falling into like some tropes of video game like review coverage or podcasting commentary. So like first and foremost, it's a AA production game at a AAA budget, and I think out of the gate that's going to be a tough sell for a lot of people, and I think that's fair. I think it's fine to point out. It reminds me of just like a lot of the THQ stuff that like used to come out, before. But as Jeff said, the production value is quite grand. There's a lot of content here. It starts off slow, in my opinion. The first 2 hours I thought were a drag. I'm not even lying. Like I was like, this is not what I thought this game was going to be. I read this review that I shared where somebody called it Zelda, Devil May Zelda, or Zelda May Cry or something. And I was like, man, I'm excited. Like this sounds great. That was a little bit high expectation. It is, as you said, map game, open world, kind of Zelda-ish, and I'm light on the ish. It's like a dash of the ish. But Devil May Cry, I feel like, is reach. The combat isn't nearly as fluid. It's not nearly as precise. It's not as chunky. It's not as fun. The combat is more like a hack and slash. Like you just kind of do the combat. Now, it's varied. I like that about it. It is very varied. You get to rotate between melee attacks, between range attacks. You get to change up those weapons. You can dual wield. Like the game, I don't want to say mechanically because it's not really mechanical. Like systematically, the game offers a lot of customization. It just takes a minute before. It took me a minute, anyways. I guess is the better way of putting it. It took me a little bit to really start to put my arms around that and make the character my own and unlock a lot of the dual wielding things and figure out exactly what all this crafting means and how do I get materials to craft these things. Like there was a discovery period there that I feel like I just started to get over. I beat the first boss, whatever they call it, like the big bad monsters, and after I did that, I started cleaning up the side quests and stuff. But I got my Goob Glob or Goo Glide or whatever they call it. It's like a little jet. It's like a little jet ski that you get. And once I got the jet ski, the world starts to open up. And then once the world opens up, then you start to kind of see like the map game that's there. I kind of wish the game got out of its way and got you into that faster, because that game is that's the fun part. And it is there. I think you can enjoy this game if you're somebody that doesn't mind spending $60 on something that isn't Mass Effect or Last of Us. And I think that's and if you're not one of those people, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's the thing that people have got to get out of that, right? Like, I understand if you have limited time and limited choices,
the budget too.
You want to buy the best game that you can possibly play. This probably isn't that option for you. Wait for it to come to Game Pass or PlayStation Plus or something, right? But if you're looking for an open world game, if you're not into the Mass Effect thing right now, if you're looking for something new, there is something here. Then I think it is. I'm having quite a blast with it, actually, once I got out into the open. Like, it just took me a minute. The narrator, I absolutely loathe.
Oh, that's encouraging. I like that in games.
I didn't read reviews, and I feel like this was one that if I had read reviews, I would have learned earlier that you can actually turn it off. I just scrolled across a Twitter post from Kotaku that was like, how to turn this guy off. And I was like, thank you so much. Because you can't turn it off, but you can dial it way back.
Oh, interesting.
There's no voice acting at all.
Right. It's just this one guy like reading the story and doing like pretending like he's translating.
So every character
like Bastion-esque, but not as good. Like, is that what we're looking at here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was going to say like Fable did kind of some of this, but at least Fable had voice acting, it had characters. That's the problem, is you'll come across these characters in the world and they all kind of talk to you like Animal Crossing characters. They're like, blah, 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 and then the narrator will translate to you. Oh. And that's not good. It just grows old when the narrator is literally the voice of every character. And I do think that delivery has I've played it for 4 or 5 hours, and I already basically do not care about the story. I am clicking through the text as fast as possible just to get it over with, because I'm like, just let me go beat up dudes. Let me go find stuff. Let me go craft stuff. Because the special abilities that you earn and like the suits and stuff that you earn are cool. You get powers and stuff. Like there's some cool game here. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, getting in the mech was pretty neat. I like that stuff. Yeah, it was like, okay, yeah, this feels different, and I feel powerful, and I'm doing cool stuff, and I'm like, oh, they're just gonna let me like take this for the rest of the game, and it's like, no, it's kind of it's cordoned off to an area, so it's like but it's still like you feel like you get to use it a lot when you first get it, and then it's like, okay, well, then you beat a boss, and now move on, and it's still there. If you like want to go back to that area, you can hop right back into it whenever you want, which is that's cool. But the narrator stuff, it was just. It's like it kind of makes it sound like a David Attenborough sort of documentary, but really, really sort of, I don't know. Whenever he talks outside of anything where it's like there's a specific context or he's specifically translating someone, and he's just like, you did something, so I'm gonna like call on one of these 5 different sayings that like, oh wow, you're a badass or something like that. He doesn't say that. You. Yeah, it's way worse than like sports commentary video games, like the commentary you get from like that stuff is not great, but it's way better than what happens here. So it just feels like they were way more ambitious on a lot of these things and had to scale back to actually ship this game, and this is one of the areas where they had to scale way back, it feels like. So
yeah, and I don't know that when you say 20 people made it, I don't know that I'm surprised. Like voice acting and stuff like that is always what gets axed, because you just don't have the resources, and that's fine. And as like a early summer like placeholder game, you could do worse. Is the vibe that I'm getting. Maybe not for $60, but like you could do worse. So
yeah, I think the opening statement, it's fine, it's okay. Like that's spot on. I don't disagree with what the reviewers are saying. I think there's a particular type of person that might get a lot of enjoyment out of this game. I do think that I'm one of those people. So
yeah, I like games like this as placeholders. They're kind of mindless in a sense. Like they don't require, like if you don't care about the story, then it doesn't really require a whole lot of brain energy to keep track of it, right? You're just
I was gonna.
have fun.
He's in the chat. I was gonna bring up Garrett because I was playing that remastered. What was that? The old game that got remastered and they called it the remastered, the Red Faction remastered or
Red
whatever.
Faction. That game.
And when I was talking to Garrett about it, he was like, it's just good old like video game junk food. That's what this game is. Like Biomutant is kind of like, once you get out of its way, it's just kind of junk food. It's fun to drive your little jet ski around and find stuff. It's got the little Wind Waker arm that you go and get and pull stuff up out of the water. And, like there's a glider that I've seen. I haven't got one yet, but I've seen people jump off of cliffs and go gliding around and stuff. Like I'm looking forward to that.
I'm going to give this one to my 11-year-old. And watch him play it. That's like one of my favorite things to do. I just love loading up a game and handing him a controller and be like, tell me what you think. And then I'll watch him play and then I'll play. But it's interesting for somebody to go in completely blind who hasn't read any reviews and has no idea what the game is and has seen nothing. It's like my favorite litmus test. Like, tell me what you think. And he's great. And I'm just going to start recording him because he's probably more insightful than me.
I think that's a really good idea because I think there is a chance that there are going to be some 11, 12, 13-year-olds that somehow come across this game and they start playing it, and 20 years from now they're going to be telling their friends, do you remember Biomutant? Did you play that? Am I the only one in the world that played that? It was like kind of good. It was kind of weird and good. Yeah, it's definitely gonna. If it could be the game. The problem is that that game is not like a viable business strategy anymore. So they all went away, and now we're getting one. And as someone who was like speaking critically, I'm gonna say, hey, maybe you're probably better off saving your money in most cases. If you want to take a chance, go for it. That's great. But in most cases, I think you probably shouldn't buy it. And so a lot of times those kids aren't even going to get those opportunities because it's just like I feel like I have to tell you how I really feel and tell you you're probably not going to feel like you're going to get $60 worth out of it. But I do think there's a really good chance that some kids are going to consider this a cult classic down the line, and that would be great. I would love to see that happen.
Yeah,
I think if they get it for like $10 or it's a PlayStation Plus game or something, like it really changes your entire.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always curious to send him into games like that blind because he doesn't follow. Like he follows certain games that he really loves and watches certain YouTubers that are approved content creation. Please don't listen to my podcast, child. But he, it's fun to sit him down in front of stuff that like I have an opinion on because I get to see all the discourse, but he doesn't. So it's like I want to see what he thinks. That's like my favorite thing, and I have the disposable income to just do that and have an experiment. He'll be very honest, and he has lots of big words, so it's kind of fun to listen to. He's a smart kid. I just want to hear him talk about games. So, Are either of you gentlemen playing anything else of note at this point?
I've got a few things. I just want to touch on one real quickly because I only spent a cup of tea with it, but I did hop in to the Saints Row, the third remaster, like the next gen.
Freaking love that game.
I took my car around, like around the block, whenever. The next gen upgrades are legit. Like it looks beautiful, like to the point where I was like, I might need to replay this at some point over the summer, like because it looks really good.
Love that game too. So, yeah,
Me too.
I've heard nothing but good things about that remaster. So yeah,
same.
It's really nice.
It's probably my favorite of the Saints Row series, easily too. Like I just have very fond memories of messing around in that game, and I've been putting off playing the remaster. I guess because I'm afraid if I go back to it, like it'll ruin my nostalgia for it. But I own it, and that's one I can't play in front of my children. That's when I have to wait till it's like midnight and lock the basement. But I love that game, so I kind of want to jump back in.
I could only hope that the GTA 5 remaster lives up to this or exceeds it because technically it's very nice.
They're definitely going to charge a lot more money for it.
Oh, I'm sure.
So
yeah, this is a free upgrade if you already have it.
Yeah.
I spent 3 or 4 hours with The Wild at Heart when it on launch day when it hit Game Pass. Beautiful little game. I've long expected to love this game. We had Chris Sumsky come on the show. We talked about this. I've been trumpeting this little indie darling for a very long time. Very excited about it. If you love Pikmin, you owe it to yourself to play it. If you like Luigi's Mansion, you owe it yourself to play it. It's kind of like a mix between those two worlds. What I did not expect, and this is the new thing that I'd like to just share with our listeners, is I didn't expect them to actually have a narrative that I would really care about. Like it has a motivating narrative that kind of caught me off guard. It's not like heavy-handed. There's not a lot of dialogue. It's basically implied, kind of off the screen. But yeah, I like it. It definitely hit, and I was like, oh man, this is kind of good, and it really explains like why you go and get lost. And I told you about the art style. I know it's beautiful. I did have a freeze, but I also saw that they've released a patch today, so they are hard at work. So if you guys are having any issues with the game, definitely send them in. You can hit them over at Moonlight Kids on Twitter, but I wish them the very best. I hope I hope Game Pass is making it for them, because I don't think anybody makes games like this. Like, we haven't got a game like this outside of Nintendo in a long time, and I think that's why, for me, it caught on so well. So
I'll have to give it a try.
I
mean, Pikmin is one of my favorites, especially after Pikmin 3 Deluxe just nailed it. Got
so
everything
good.
right. Yeah, it was so good. So I'm like, I'm ready for more of that. I'll definitely give this a shot. I've heard nothing but good things about this one as well. Everyone who plays it seems to really like it. So
it's really
good
good
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a good indie darling.
I installed it for that reason. I feel like this is the kind of game where if it didn't get grabbed up by Game Pass, would end up in Steam and get lost in the shuffle.
Oh, for sure.
It just screams to be, because there's so much like uniqueness in Steam that is so hard to get, top of the pile.
Right.
I'm glad that it got picked up by Game Pass, and people will hopefully download it and play it, because it's adorable.
As the captain just posted in the chat that I highlighted, the thing that I do want to talk about, and Elaine, I brought notes.
Oh my God, you wrote stuff down. I'm a sucker.
I played the Scarlet Nexus demo.
Let's go.
And we've been talking about this for a long time. From the very first part when we saw it, last August when Xbox showed it,
I'm very excited.
I thought to myself, I was like, it looks like Astral Chain, feels like Astral Chain. I love Astral Chain. Like, I can't wait to play it. Now that I've played the demo, you remember we were reading the impressions. I told you I was a little scared. Some people had some things. Forget everything that I said about those people. I'm just going to say that those reviewers are wrong. I love this game, Elaine. It's amazing.
So excited.
It's incredible. It was, it's not as Astral Chain as I thought. I'd actually say it's like, and I'm going to say this, I don't play it as much as you do, so maybe I'm off base, but from the 10 hours or so that I did play, it's nearish.
If the combat has got that flow, and I haven't gotten to the demo. It's been a couple weeks for me with work that have been nuts, so I haven't gotten to touch much of anything. But Nier has a really nice flow to the combat that sometimes gets interrupted by enemy stuff, and the impressions that I have read from Scarlet Nexus make it seem very much that. Like, once you get the flow going, it's rad. But you can get knocked out of the flow. Yeah, it's
Elaine, my smile was from ear to ear. I was so happy. I was like, look at all of this cool stuff that I'm doing.
This is why I love games like that, and I'm so excited about this. Also, it's an anime-ass game, and I am here for that 100%.
A lot of times, demos will turn me off of my pre-order, and this could not have just reinforced my pre-order more. I was like, not only did I feel good about my pre-order, I now want everybody else I know to also pre-order the game. I hope it doesn't get swallowed, in Mario Golf and E3 and Ratchet hype. I hope people still, pay attention to this game, because look, at the core, you can beat them up, right? Like, you can smash buttons and just beat up people. You have the telekinesis powers. You can chain those together.
Yep.
So you can hit somebody in the face and then pick up a truck and throw it at them, and then slingshot yourself off the truck and hit them again. But
this is what I wish I could do in real life.
But what I
wish I could live.
What I didn't recognize was that then you have your party, and you can mix and match all of your party's abilities with your attacks and your psi attacks, and then shit gets crazy. Like, there were times where I was like watching, so I was fighting this enemy, I hit them with a truck, I threw them in the air, my sword flew around me, hit them, there was like a scaffolding over them, all of that fell down, my girl ran by, lit it all on fire. I was like, what is it? What a video game. Like, what a video game, video game.
Yeah, that's my favorite descriptor of games like this. Sometimes when I would walk home from work in Philly and see I just wish that those moments could just happen in that scenario. So I like living them in a way that won't get me arrested. Video game.
It was compelling in a way that I want to learn to master it. And like, that's that Bayonetta hook. Like, once you see what you're capable of, at first it's like a little wonky, right? It's like, hit the X button, hold right trigger, hit the other button, press Y, and you're like, wait a minute, there's a lot going on here. But once you start to get a hang of it, then I was like, can I combo this with that? Like, now what can I do? Like, it's very expansive in that regard, and looks like there's like a lot of unlocks and, a big tree where you can kind of go your own way with it. So I'm
very
stoked.
excited.
It's beautiful, by the way.
That's June, right? That is June?
Yeah.
There's a lot of video game in June.
It's a few,
I wish
it's
everyone
like 2
would
or 3
slow
weeks.
down. Yeah, this is the kind of thing that I really love about like games by Platinum or even DMC Devil May Cry, when they allow you to figure that flow out for yourself. Those types of like slashers are amazing, right? Because you feel like you keep layering on knowledge, and by the end of the game you're like, I am a god and no one can touch me.
That's how it felt.
It's a power trip, and it's a great feeling in video games. Like when they get it right, hell yeah.
They're like little hidden things down the hallway and behind the dumpster and stuff you can find too. So
you love that stuff.
I do love that stuff.
It's like geocaching in video games for you.
But that's it for me.
I dipped back in time to 2016 to play Doom because I bought a new laptop. Okay, so like, look, I finally decided to buy a laptop because travel is starting to happen again for work and stuff like that. It's time. I was overdue. And the last laptop I owned was like an XPS 13, and I loved it, but that does not play video games, right? No. And if I'm going to sit in hotel rooms, I want to be able to play video games. So I bought an MSI, the GS66, which is a really slick laptop. And I was like, it used to be that you would play, you know, Crysis to benchmark your stupid new toy, and I was like, no, 2016 Doom. Like, let's hack and slash my way through. So my kids are like, Mom, what you playing? I'm like, you know, just taking care of Hell Demons. Don't worry about it. Keep it moving.
So the thing about Doom though is it runs so well on anything. It's
anything,
like,
right?
But I bet it's running really well on that.
I'm
laptop.
getting all the FPS, and the built-in screen is like a 240 hertz screen, which is kind of rad. So this thing is cooking, and I'm just sitting, plugging an Xbox controller, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, man, I'm living the dream right now. I could play Doom in a hotel room. Also, that game is 56 gigabytes, and holy crap. I forgot how big games were until I started installing them from Steam and not just walking away from my Xbox and letting it do things, you know? Yep. But I'm impressed with that box, and I'm still impressed with Doom 2016. And the only other thing I've dipped into a little bit is Mass Effect, because I want to relive the joy. And that first game, I have a lot of nostalgia for the first Mass Effect. I realize if no one has played the series, you should probably start with 2 at this point. Because even with the tweaks, I still feel like that game feels kind of archaic. But boy, they did just enough to it for me, especially even on PC. I can play it with a controller now without having to install a bunch of nonsense. It looks pretty good. It moves well. I like what they reworked with like some of the menus in combat. Mass Effect's still great. News at 11.
Yeah, but you can like get through that game pretty quickly too if you just sort of mainline it.
Absolutely.
A couple of like 10 hours even. Like you
100%. You could set it to easy and do it in 10 hours. And if you really, really are not sure, if you're playing it and you're like, oh, I don't know that I like this, then just skip it, because there is a comic in the package before 2 that recaps what would have happened in 1. Just look at that and play 2. 2 is up there in a top 10 game list for me. Like 2 is one of those games that just sticks with you forever, and I still think it really holds up. So
I gotta play it one day.
Yeah.
If you're like the type of person who's like, you got one shot at the series, start with 2. You could always.
I didn't know you could play it that fast. I honestly thought like each one of them was like 100-hour game.
No, it's not. No, it's not like one of those kinds of franchises. The first game, you put it on easy, just get through the story. I think it's worth it because I think it does a great job. It does a great job of setting up the universe. But the second game does pick up everything and lets you know what happened, and you can like select and choose your choices and stuff. But yeah, I can go back to the first game and just barrel through it, and then you'll really want to enjoy the second game. Even now, even today, you'll want to savor that. That's just such a good experience that one you won't care if it win 100 hours, you'd be happy because it's just spending time with those characters is so good.
They have some of the best writing, dialogue, and world building in 2 that I think that BioWare has ever done. Like for me personally, and it's just one of those games that you stick with and you think about some of those choices and moments for a long time. And then every time I come back to it, I'm like, I always say I'm going to play it different. I never do. I'm always the good guy, and I always want to. It's hard because you get attached, you know. And that is one of those. I was describing this to someone to my husband, because we had watched through Sense8, and I get attached to characters on shows I really love, and then I get sad when I no longer get to see what they're up to. Mass Effect 2 is one of those video games where I'm like, oh, I wonder what Liara's doing. I'm sad. You know. I
didn't mention about Biomutant. It also has a morality system.
Really?
And like I normally do.
Does it matter? Like,
I mean, I don't care about the story, so I'm just picking. Like, Jeff, every time we have him around, I always play like super evil. Always. Just infamous Fable days. Super evil. Right out.
Are you a monster? I can't play video games that way. I think I was just raised.
Elaine, no one can except for apparently Donnie. Donnie's
He's a monster.
One.
Holy crap!
I've heard people say that for years, but it's like
I want you to play Mass Effect bad now.
You're always forced to play as the hero. Why wouldn't you take the opportunity, the very few chances that we get, and spin the narrative differently?
Let me tell you why. As somebody who's watched playthroughs, most of the time the writing is not as good when you play the next one.
Yeah, but you guess what is? Your effects and abilities and stuff are better. They're always better. The Sith is always better. It's always more fun.
Did you kill all the little sisters in Bioshock?
I mean,
holy crap, Donnie. We gotta talk. I have to make...
Or he needs to talk to somebody, yeah.
I gotta make a call. I have a great therapist. Look,
oh,
it's
man.
2021. I have a recommendation for you.
Fable, man. I was cutthroat. Just town after town after town. Just like you're done. Infamous. Yeah, like all the Infamous evil powers are always better. They're so much more fun to play as.
I'm having a revelation about my co-host that I was not prepared for.
To be fair, I usually play them both. Like Fable, I've beaten every Fable both ways. Infamous, I've played both ways. Most games I play both, but I always go evil first, always.
I would argue that Mass Effect is actually one that's interesting to toe the middle almost. Like some choices really do feel right to make what they deem the renegade choice. Sometimes you just need to punch that guy in the face.
Yeah.
Like, there are a couple of choices where it like gives you the option. I'm like,
is that the bad option? The punch?
Yeah,
in the face?
that moment, that's the bad option.
That's basically what Biomutant does. Like you can save somebody, or you can just punch them in the face.
There is a moment. Kedron just called out in the chat. There's a moment with a reporter where you can just slug that reporter, and like you have to deck the reporter. The reporter's a jerk. You got to punch him. Some choices have bigger swings in morality, and they feel weighty. Sometimes you just need to punch a reporter in the face. I don't know what to tell you. So I usually end up Paragon, but that's one where I nudge. I'm not like squeaky clean goody two shoes like I am in real life, you know?
Is the reporter in Mass Effect the one that was played by, what's her name? From IGN and all that? I can't remember her name now.
I want to say yes, and they press you really hard at one point and say some really crappy stuff, and you just get this option to slug them, and I'm like, you know what? Don't think I can say no. That's a moment that like replays in my head. So that, like I said, the Mass Effect games are just ones that have stuck with me. The first game actually has a lot of merit and is worth playing. Jeff's right. It's very worth playing because I think their world building and setup is exceptional.
Yeah, it's unparalleled. Like it is up there with other sci-fi franchises in terms of wanting to spend time in this universe and finding out more about it. It's up there with Star Trek and Star Wars and everything else. So, yeah, I love it. I'm glad everyone's getting a chance to go back to it. It definitely deserves it. I said the only other games I've been playing, I've been getting pretty into Super Mario RPG, and I'm almost beating it because I got tired of waiting for Nintendo to put it on the Switch. I'm sick of them. I'm sick of it. I'm just gonna do it myself. So I got that Retroid Pocket thing that I always show when I'm on podcasts and stuff. And it's got the nice 4x3 screen, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna play it. And I always say that like when I get a cool little handheld or something like that. I'm like, I'm gonna play Super Mario RPG or play any game. And a lot of times I start a game and I'll put it aside, but this one I'm seeing it through. I'm about halfway through, and whenever I get some time, it's been really great. Also, for some reason I started playing Mario Golf on the 3DS again today, like this morning. Such a good game.
Believe this is happening.
It's so good.
It's so damn good. It's the best
game.
It's an exceptional game, but I'm already having to like gird myself for June being the month of golf. Not
Jeff,
ready.
we got to play golf together. I mean,
we'll do it. Yep.
I'm stunned, by the way, not to turn this into Nintendo Jack. I'm stunned that there's no online golf tournaments. Like they have not announced or confirmed that.
For the new one.
There's no tournament. There's no tournament. You can play with your friends. You can play a foursome, but there's no tournament.
It's Nintendo. I don't know what you expected.
Camelot has got to. I just gotta hope that it's like they just didn't get it done in time. And they gotta patch it in. Like I can't.
Yeah, hopefully.
I can't believe that's gonna be a thing. Like I refuse to believe that's gonna be a thing.
This was not.
I would want to see like what the multiplayer, what they're focusing on. If they're just kind of focusing on that, match play, like going in there racing against each other and using that stuff. I can see why tournaments is like kind of antithetical to what we're going for here. But if it's like, no, tournaments would make sense here, and it's just not there, that'll be a real bummer.
That'll be a bummer. I feel like, and it's a different company, but Splatoon went through kind of this evolution over time where they added stuff and they added Splatfests, and I'm hoping that, Camelot will see the value of how that
They did the same
evolved.
thing with Aces. Camelot supported Aces for like 3 years. Yeah. So that was the big takeaway, right? When we saw the little video, I was like, wow, I can't believe this isn't here, but I will have undying hope that they will add it at some point. It will come back.
Right.
I expect weekly golf.
It's like it's like a shooter not having multiplayer or something. It makes no sense for it not to be there. So
I love it. I love the golf. I also love Super Mario RPG. It is amongst my favorite SNES games of all time.
Oh, you're gonna make Rebecca and Garrett very, very happy. They both have those retro pockets. And
that game is exceptionally good too, and it's
awesome.
It's a freaking Square Enix
RPG. It holds up real well. I mean, it's a Square Enix, or it's a Square Soft RPG that was like, you could tell Nintendo's like, but what if we made it really fun?
And we made it
Mario.
Made it
a good game, and it's like, oh, okay, all right, that's interesting. We'll try that, and it's like, yeah, it totally shines through.
The battle mechanics that they started with that game have carried through into the Mario and Luigi series, and they were like very pivotal for those RPGs to hit for me. And everybody needs to go back and play it. And Nintendo is wrong for not putting it on their damn.
Yeah, it's just I'm sure it's just them and Square Enix fighting over it and saying or like being too lazy to hash it out.
That's probably what it is.
Not worth the effort.
We could do that, or we could go silly string each other in the parking lot. Let's do that
exactly.
It's E3 season, so screw it. Maybe we'll get it this time. Maybe we'll get it. I'm not going to hold my hopes up here. All right, so that's all the video games and nonsense we've been playing around with. Let's talk about all the video game news that's happening pre-E3, because there's been a lot of it. I need to stretch here. All right, let's talk about Dying Light 2, which I'm really excited to play. So they did a stream event. Donnie, did you watch the whole thing? I only watched the
entire thing.
Of course you did. I bought a dumb collector's edition.
Excellent set, by the way. Maybe like best set in a stream that I've ever seen.
It was really intense.
Yeah.
I am really excited for this thing, and it's hitting this year. This one is December, correct?
It's hitting this year.
7th. Check your bingo cards off.
Knock on wood.
Hold your breath. Don't get nervous.
It's real close.
Look, Donnie, what did they show us? Give me a recap here.
All right, so they gave us a trailer. The second one is set 20 years after the first game, so you do not need to play the first game to really kind of catch up with the new one. All right, so it's 20 years later. The virus has wiped out 90% of humanity. We are all in Villador, which is like the last bastion of the laugh
I'm sorry.
That's appropriate.
Like, I just need 1 minute. Can you imagine the round table? We need a name for a place, all right? Like,
Villador.
How about Village? Now they did that with Resident Evil. Let's try again. How about Villador? It sounds evil. Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
It's the last bastion for humanity, and essentially, during the day, humans fight. There's factions. They're battling for territory and resources. At night, the infected come out. They're not zombies. He made a mention. They're not zombies. There you go. Roll your eyes. Also, the appropriate response.
Need to take a knee.
The infected, which are mutated. Like, this is a trope thing. Like, it's like we can't just have zombies anymore. They have to be zombies with spikes and horns, and anyway. They come out at night. So we got to see our character. I forget his name. Aiden?
Danny's another game.
That's Far Cry. That's
Aiden's
next.
Another game
too early.
They're all whatever.
Here's the thing.
Same.
It is kind of watchdog-ish, like in the factions. There's like neon light in all of the rooms, and like the characters have got like face coverings and stuff. Like, it's not Aiden Pierce. It's kind of Aiden Pierce with zombies. Like, it's not that. But it, like, look, what you're there for is the combat and the parkour, and the combat and the parkour looked excellent. Devin called it Far Cry with zombies. He's not wrong. The parkour looked like it was there, looked fast. I do think the trailer, it leaned heavy on combat. There was a lot of combat. They talked about how many animations you have in terms of melee combat and fisticuffs and all that type of stuff. So expect a very action heavy game with all the, parkour stuff that you remember from the first one. So they did talk about how basically the rooftops is basically like where everybody lives. Like, you stay up on the roofs, you stay vertical, especially at night. And then basically ground level is like now underground. Like, that's the basement. That's where all the, the infected are. So that's zombies. When you drop down. Yeah.
Has anybody, have they let press or anyone play this yet? Has anyone actually touched this thing, or is it?
I don't think so. No. I saw it a few years ago at E3, so that must have been 2019, I guess.
19, yeah. Before times.
Yeah. And then, and it was a theater, and they showed us the gameplay. We probably would have got hands on with it this year, I think, if we went to E3 and stuff.
Yeah.
They're always at E3. They always have a big presence, but no one's played it as far as I know.
The gameplay looked good, not like amazing, but looked good. I mean, it looked good. I was, I was impressed. I'm excited. I bought the stupid edition. Like, we bought the stupid edition.
It's got a backlight in it. What am I supposed to do?
Stupid edition.
It's got the light. Yeah, the statue glows. I was like, are you kidding me? It glows.
Cool. That's the kind of dumb crap that gets me every time, because I could be like, look, it glows to my husband, and he can roll his eyes and be like, yo, how do I write this off on our taxes? You can't. Sorry, I don't make any money doing this.
And that it caught me sticker shock. It's $229 for the collector's edition. You get DLC, which made me like, that's the one silver line. It makes me feel good. Techland supported the absolute bejesus out of Dying Light with DLC.
Oh, yeah.
So, I expect that they'll make it good with their DLC. You get crafting items, you get a flashlight, you get a map of the city, postcards, sticker pack, exclusives, trinkets, craftables.
It's standard dumb
like
crap, and I love it. I'm here for it. I mean, video games, I'm really excited about this game, actually. I loved the first Dying Light. I always felt like it felt like a unique one of those. You know what I mean? It always felt different, and I like that because
it was the perfect mix.
Gotten old.
We've talked about this, but for me, Dying Light was the perfect mix of action in a zombie apocalypse scenario and fear. I felt both like super powerful and controlled, and like you live out the zombie fantasy, but at night actually felt fear, like scared. Like you're trying to find a safe room, wondering if you can even make it there. That's so much different than like State of Decay or Dead Rising or Resident Evil. Like those things, they're not even close. So like in that regard, I've always felt like Dying Light nailed. This is what it's like to be in a zombie apocalypse, and I really enjoyed that, and so that's why I'm looking forward to the second one. It
feels very like it's very good at being scary without being scripted. I feel like a lot of what Resident Evil has leaned into is like scripted scares, right? So for a game to kind of feel, let's use the word organic, even though I really hate it, organically terrifying is rare. It's rare that somebody nails that feeling, and I think they did a great job with the first game.
It's not scripted. It's not a set piece. It's not quick time events. It literally is happening random, and it's happening around you, and it feels real.
It's F around and find out the video game. That's what it really kind of feels like it is. And I love that because it's like, oh, my watch is upset with me. My watch is like, girl, you need to sit down. I am sitting down.
There were times I legit was like, nope, I can't go out right now. I'm just going to sleep and wait till daylight.
Too scary. Yep.
It's too much.
So I'm looking forward to this one. So they showed that. And then today we got Far Cry 6 also. More open world video games that are coming out this fall. So this is actually hitting in October, which now I'm kind of surprised. That seems fast. I mean, it's the right window for that game.
I was hoping it was happening sooner, to be honest with you. Both of them I feel like are later than I wanted them to be. Like they're not too late that I'm upset about it, but I was kind of hoping to get at least one of them in like October or September. The fact that they're both pushed back, I mean, Jeff, you're really connected to what's going on with the world and COVID and everything. Like, we're just seeing some of the evidence of that is they're having production delays, so everything's just getting moved further back and back. So I'm not upset or anything. I don't get that story crossed, but I was hoping to get my hands on one of them sooner because I'm just really, really excited and been waiting for a while. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of how it's going to be though for a while still. I mean, no one's going to rush anything. It's COVID and it's Cyberpunk, and that's just how it is. I mean, Cyberpunk's just
and we'd rather it be good.
PlayStation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you would rather. No one's going to make that mistake for a while.
That was the video game that sort of recalibrated everything. Everybody was like, oh, we can't just push out something super broken and fix it anymore because they have actually found the upper limit of what you can do there. And that's fine. I'm happy to wait for a game to be better. It's not like there aren't video games to play, y'all. Like, there are a lot. So this is Cuban inspired, but set in Mexico?
No, it's an island that they call Yara.
Okay.
But they do at least reference like other Mexican cartels and things like that. Right. But it's definitely like the Cuban like resistance and revolution is to this game what like David Koresh and Waco was to Far Cry 5.
Sure.
That's very much like its thematic backdrop.
I feel like, Jeff, I think you tweeted about this today. Every time one of these games gets announced, we do the it's not political, but it's political, so let's argue about it on the internet nonsense. And like, can't we're just going to skip that and say it's clearly like Cuban Revolution inspired and we'll just move forward because that's clearly what they're doing.
And
come on.
The issue is that Ubisoft is continually going to say, we're not trying to make a political statement. And I just don't care if they're trying to or not. I'm going to talk about the political statement that the game is making when I play the game.
Agree.
And that's fine. And we're going to do that no matter what. Like, even people, we hear that and they're like, oh, they're now making a political statement with this game that like has like stuff that involves politics. Well, by the time it comes out, you're past that and you talk about this stuff anyhow. So just skip this whole thing where we pretend what someone working on the game says about the politics matters. It doesn't matter.
They should really they should stop saying it. Just let the discourse happen. Don't comment, and it'll pass. Like, they need to stop doing that. They start crap every time with this.
So we had some Discord conversation where I feel like maybe I kind of disagree with Jeff here. So I think it would be good. I don't want to dwell on this topic, but I think it'd be a good conversation.
Yeah, please.
I agree with what you're saying. I actually agree with the Ubisoft just shut up and let people say whatever they're going to say. I am one of those gamers that feel like Far Cry 5 kind of got a raw deal. Because I feel like a lot of the gaming journalism like tried to make that like a Trump thing during To the Climate. And it really wasn't a Trump thing, right? Like not every white person that runs to the hills is like a Trump thing. And I wasn't happy to see you immediately like run to this today, like seeing, reporters and say like, we asked Ubisoft what they feel about fascism. I was like, oh my God, there's a part of me that wants to just say, like, can we not just have an evil bad guy do evil bad things so we can create a character to go shoot them? Like,
it's a video game, y'all.
Right, it's a video game.
We need a driver for conflict.
But what Jeff said, I think, puts it perfectly. Yes, you can have that, and Ubisoft can just make that. But that's totally fine to still talk about the political statement that the game may or may not be making. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's I think Far Cry 5 bugged me because it was like it's my backyard, so I understand like when they
that's closer to you over there,
right? When they want to use it as set dressing and then they don't want to deal with the realities of it, it's frustrating. That's frustrating. Yes. So anyone that is living in Central America and feels that way, I'm going to be like, no, I get that totally. It's frustrating to see a company just use your use the people around you that are militant, that are anti-government, fascist in my case, or revolutionaries in your case, whatever the case may be. Like, you understand it, you live it, and then to see a company just trying to sort of make money and make a story based on that, and not acknowledge that it's like anything other than just like a fun playground. Yeah, we'll have that conversation. The problem is we don't need Ubisoft to get involved to actually have that conversation.
That's it.
We don't.
They're
care.
not necessarily making a statement.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, whatever the game comes out, however it speaks to us, we're going to discuss that, and that's fine. Right. And Ubisoft can be an active participant in that conversation if it wants to be. It's never going to want to do that, though, and that's fine. I don't need it to be in order to have this conversation with people who are also consuming this media and feeling something and reacting to it, and we'll be fine. And we just got to skip this part right now where we get even. Yeah, I just do not care that one person working on this game said something about like the politics or lack thereof. It does not matter.
I feel like we just have to stop asking them that question. You know what I mean? Just like let it be, and let's stop giving them the opportunity to be like, it's not political. Just don't even ask them. Have the discourse we want to have, because that's the whole point about.
Because if you play the game,
like, say I don't believe you, and then see what they say then. Like
that works.
Right?
Yeah,
that works.
They're never gonna not toe the line of we did not mean to make a political statement here. We're just making a video game. They're never gonna say anything different because lawyers. So just skip it. Just have your discourse. Yeah. See it to its logical end and publish the stories you want to publish or the discussions about it, and stop putting them in the middle, because you're never going to get out of them what you want.
And I think you're right. If we play the game and we feel like they're, painting a specific, point, an opinion, then that's the time to talk about it. Yeah. Not just because it's thematically there. It's like you got to actually see what the story is and see if they're going somewhere with it. Like, do you think they're fairly shedding light on something, unfairly, or are they just using this environment to make a sandbox that's not really doing anything, and then talk about whether or not that's right or wrong? But like now it just feels out of place.
When you ask about it up front like this, when you've seen a gameplay trailer that involves a gator wearing a t-shirt chasing people, it's like, let's play the video game first.
But gold tooth.
So stupid. Like, it's a video game, and it could still have things to say, but why don't we just play it first before we ask Ubisoft if they're intending? They're going to say no every time we put a gator and a cute little dog with the little,
And if someone's always going to ask. Someone always will ask, and that's fine. Once we get the answer, which is always going to be the same, that they're not trying to make a political statement, let's just not be surprised. Let's just move on, or ask the follow up right then and be like, okay, well, I don't believe you, so what are you really doing here? Ask, at least change the conversation up from being the same thing every single time. It really is boring at this point.
It's boring, and we can do better.
Want to see, let's just and. We'll see what happens when the game comes out. We'll have those conversations then. Right now, let's just not have this one. That's all.
Right. And I think so. I watched the trailer. I'm excited for this game. I like the way Far Cry does open world. They added some, I'll call it light stealth stuff, where you can hide guns and kind of move in and out of places. And I mean, put away your weapons, and that's.
I read a whole breakdown on this, like the holstering your weapon thing. I think it's neat. At least it solves one of my. Full carte blanche, Jeff. I love Far Cry 5. One of my favorite games from last generation.
I thought it was fun.
One of the things from Far Cry 5 that I didn't love is that when you are in the world, these random people just show up and just start fighting you all the time.
All the time.
constantly. Like you can't fish or climb something or like check out this building without some dude in their truck just pulling up ready to fight. So this seems aimed directly at that. And I pulled this quote from VGC, and they basically said this was the most compelling thing that they thought from the new game. They did go hands-on. They've got a video, you can go see it, where essentially you can choose to holster your weapon. And when you do, it's like setting up a flag. Like they will just stop. They will just leave you alone. So if you just want to walk through the jungle and check out some stuff or go hunt some animals or whatever, like you're good. But you can also use that in stealth combat. So you can sneak up on somebody and then draw and engage. And I'm wondering, and I'm sure, Ubisoft's very, very good at this. So I'm sure they've found out something, but I'm wondering, does that possibly like break Far Cry? Like surely I can't walk up into a base with my weapon holstered and not expect any resistance, right? Like I can't just walk right up to people. I would hope not.
Are probably going to employ, I'm guessing, some of what they've done successfully with Assassin's Creed, where under certain situations, having it holstered gives
some
you
zones or something.
Yeah. Well, when you're just walking into someone's base, they're going to be like, you don't belong here, and try to shoot you.
Yeah.
There's got to be a barrier to me in my head, which I think that's cool. And I'm trying to remember, Jeff, I don't know if you will. Far Cry 2, did it let you holster? Did it let you? Because Far Cry 2 was a very different experience.
Yeah, I don't remember. I feel like Far Cry 2, you were always in a situation where you were kind of always being hunted, but it wasn't like Far Cry 5's specific issue was they were actively hunting you
constantly.
They were and so and they would drive past you, and so you would try to be exploring something just off the road, and then there would be
spin around.
They'd spin around. Yeah, but okay, all right, let's do this fight again. And Far Cry 2 was not like that, but I think if you came across enemies and they saw you, like as you were exploring the world, you would always end up fighting them. So it didn't matter if you had it holstered or not, I don't think. But it is what games need, right? More ways of interacting beyond just shooting. Shooting's great.
Yeah,
games should have shooting. I love shooting in games. Like it's a great way to interact with objects in a 3D world. Most games probably should have shooting. I just would also like the option to interact with things in other ways when I feel like it.
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption 2 did some of this. I didn't really change too much there for me, but I'm glad it at least attempted to try something, and it feels like other games are taking that and picking it up and running with it, and I think there's a lot of potential. I mean, the idea is to make it feel like a more living world, and if I'm just someone living in this space with my gun holstered or you can't see a gun, it really doesn't make sense. It makes sense to always get attacked, and what else can you do in that space? If they make that interesting, that'd be really great.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what they do with this one. Like I liked 5. I liked 4 better. I'm probably one of the few people. Well, maybe I'm not. Donnie might be the minority. 4 was my favorite, probably of all of them.
Yeah, as I say, I think I'm the minority here.
You might be. 4 had less of the problem of just full U-turns on vehicles to come after you for no good reason. It actually felt like there was a barrier to triggering those type of interactions. I like this. This setting makes this colorful and it makes it pop, and it gives you. It's looking like it's going to give me options for hopefully some stealth combat. Like let's
go. And it looked great.
Yeah,
it really looked beautiful at times, and I was very impressed.
Of all of Ubi's open world experiences, Far Cry has become one of my favorites. Like I really love Assassin's Creed, but there's just something about shooting and lighting crap on fire in a Far Cry game.
Setting bears loose and like setting up the trap and all the stuff to like make it happen, and then sit back and watch it as chaos ensues. It's real good.
Also, because it was just called out in the chat, the stupid CD gun playing the Macarena. I hope.
Yes, that's very good.
Kedron noted, I hope the CD gun is customizable. If I can't play a Backstreet Boys, tell me why.
Despacito or something.
I need Britney Spears, please. Can I get Ace of Base? I saw the sign. Just on the loop. I'll just publish clips on Twitter of only me shooting Ace of Base tracks at people.
Hey man, they'll connect to your Spotify. I don't know, do like a whole time
just
test type
pull
thing.
my list. Oh,
you can just
God.
do it.
That would be embarrassing for me and everyone else.
Bob.
Real quick in chat, 1H1D says, a gun that shoots compact discs, and I can't tell if this person is very old or very young to call them compact discs. Yeah.
That sounds very encyclopedic. Yeah.
Like a child that read it on Wikipedia, right?
Right,
yes.
like that's like what my kid would call them. Mom, what are these compact discs? And he's just holding it up like,
yeah, exactly.
What is this for? Child, let me show you my mini disc collection. That's hurtful.
Sorry.
No, that was worth a call out because that's very good. Also, people calling them specifically. I love that they're specifically CDRs. I love that it's specifically rewritable ass CDs.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
This is the little stuff that I think they do really well. Like, I mean, and plus there was a freaking cute dog at the end of the trailer. That cute dog growled and I lost my damn mind. So I'm ready.
Speaking of guns, the stupid edition comes with a flamethrower replica.
So I showed my husband that, and he was like, "Does it work though?"
No. Yeah.
And I said, "Of course not." And I said to him, "Why?" And he's like, "Because if it worked, I would greenlight that dumb shit."
Exactly. It clearly says in bold font, replica does not operate.
He's like, "You know what? I've argued with you about a lot of dumb crap. The Mass Effect helmet, at least you can wear that. And if this doesn't work, don't get it sent here." Great. I love him. He loves me. I think that's all of our game announcements for now.
Yeah.
It's almost E3. We'll get more stuff. Speaking of almost E3, let's talk about Xbox and Bethesda and their plans.
Yeah.
Donnie, what are their plans?
So Xbox took to the Xbox Wire and they confirmed what Jeff had previously said, that they will be doing their showcase alongside with Bethesda Sunday, June 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern. That's 10 a.m. Pacific. They'll be focused on games from Xbox Game Studio, Bethesda, as well as other creators and partners. You can expect a 90-minute show.
That's pretty tight.
Clobrill over on Reset Era has postulated he thinks we'll see 5 new games announced that we don't know about.
Oh.
So if I may, let me tee it up for you, Jeff.
Yeah, please.
Some of the feedback that we got earlier, when this thing happened, was 90 minutes. That's not that long.
No.
To which
it's pretty long.
It's pretty long. Like, yeah. I
responded, I responded this way. So I'll tee this up for you. Xbox has shown us a lot. This has been kind of my mantra for Elaine, the last 2-3 months. We know, I feel like we know what 85% of Xbox Game Studios are doing, and we also know that half of that stuff is 2-3 years away.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Maybe even further. Like, I thought Hellblade was closer. There's a couple games that I thought were closer than we think they are now. So with that, I've been telling people to temper expectations. I know Bethesda used to do their own 2-hour show, and Xbox did their own show and stuff like that.
That's not how it's going to work.
There you go. I've been saying temper your expectations. I personally don't want to see a lot of these games that are 3-4 years away. Like, I can live without seeing Fable. I don't want to see Perfect Dark. I don't want to see those games until they have gameplay to show us. So go away, go work.
Shut up.
Right? Go
Go
put your head down, go away. Come back when you're ready, and we'll see a couple surprises in that. So, Jeff, I think everybody's here really to hear what you have to say about Xbox at E3. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, do you want to try to like figure out like what those 5 games could be? Because I think when we say totally new, it's those games are things that have been rumored. Like one of them's Forza Horizon 5.
I was just going to say, there's no world in which one of these 5 games is not Forza Horizon 5.
Right.
There's no world.
Right, exactly. So it's a lot of them are going to be things like that, and then there's going to be things that are like, well, yes, Starfield has been announced, so it would be one of those 5 games. But Starfield is going to be like one of the games at the show. So yeah, but it's going to be stuff that you can predict, right? Because some of them are going to be sequels to games that did well and things like that. So it's not going to be a lot of huge new surprises, but there will be a couple new things, but even those have been teased. Just Gordon's been teasing Project Typhoon. I think very likely one of those games, that could be one of those games. I don't think that the IO interactive game is one of them, because that seems too far away.
That was way like Vapor.
Just getting started, right? Yes. Still just Vapor. We'll see if it turns into software eventually. And then there's been teases about like a Project Omen, things like that, where but on Reset Era, people talk about this Arcane Austin game called Project Omen. That could show up. That could be one of those 5. But yeah, it's going to be I think it's going to be a pretty solid show. I think here my prediction is that it's going to hinge a lot on Halo and whether or not people feel good about that. And even if Starfield looks really good, even if these new games are exciting, even if there's like cool third-party announcements, if Halo comes out and people aren't blown away and I think it's very likely people won't be blown away, there's still going to be a lot of moaning about Halo, and that's going to be the big talk. And so I think there's a chance that people are going to feel kind of like, okay, so that Halo was whatever, and then we didn't even see Perfect Dark. What are they even doing over there at Microsoft? And so I think there's a chance that people are going to feel disappointed. But for me, I'm just show me Starfield.
What is that game actually?
Right.
Answer that question. That's all I care about at this point.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
tell me what Arcane Austin is doing. Tell me what what like Obsidian's going to have something there probably. Let's see what Obsidian's up to. Stuff like that. That's enough for me to be like that was a solid show. I'm not expecting a PlayStation 2015, 2016 style show that is just nonstop balls to the wall action of like new games and games that you do know about. Here is some of the best gameplay you've ever seen at E3. It's not going to be like that. They are not in that position quite yet. They're getting closer. But the issue is just, part of it is still COVID. Part of it is a lot of these studios are still coming off projects that they're busy on that, prior obligations, they got to put them out, everywhere. But in a year, a lot of that stuff won't be a problem anymore, and that's why I say next E3 is probably going to be better. I still think this E3 is going to be pretty good, but I don't think that it's not going to hurt anybody to temper expectations. I think that's a good idea, because we do know, there's a list of games: Fable, Avowed, a Perfect Dark, like stuff that you could get really excited about. Most of that stuff's not going to be there. It's just not going to be there.
They did that show last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and they can't afford, but why are we doing that again, right? Like, we don't need to do that again.
Not with trailers. They can't do it with trailers.
Not with CG trailers.
Yeah, we're done with that.
And they're very sensitive to that. They know that. They pay. I mean, we know that Phil and Aaron are on Twitter a lot, right? They pay attention. They see what people are saying. Yeah. They listen to podcasts. They know that people think that CG trailers are a cop out. We don't want to see it anymore. And unless it's for a brand new game and you're setting that up. But even then, we want those games to be a little bit closer than like 4 or 5 years out. We don't want to hear about stuff from like 2025, 2026.
Or just like 1 or 2 of them. Don't give me a whole 90 minutes full of that crap, because that's like
the ratio.
I don't want to see it. Yeah, it sucks. I think that
I'm sorry.
The theme of this entire E3 should probably be temper expectations, right? To a certain extent, right? I don't think this is exclusively an Xbox thing, but this 90 minutes isn't going to like slap you over the head with hot new stuff that's going to be out in 3 months. I think it's unrealistic to think that. This is the Halo show,
right?
With friends.
I think if there's if they're really going to blow us away with what they could realistically do, it is going to be with third-party Game Pass games this holiday.
Agreed.
And
that excites me a lot.
Right, and it's like that, and they're in a position where they might have to do that to really make this holiday pop. Like, Halo's going to come, and Halo's going to be Halo. It's going to be what it is. I've never been a Halo guy, so whether or not it's going to work for other people, I have no idea really. But I think it's going to. I think they're going to show the Halo multiplayer, and I think it's going to look like Halo multiplayer.
Yep.
And there's going to be an audience that's going to be like, thank God. And then there's going to be a lot of people like, well, I didn't like Halo multiplayer then. I play something different now. I play all these free-to-play battle royale games. I'm into that with my friends. So nothing here is doing anything for me. What else do you have? And then that's Microsoft's cue to say, okay, well, for
Game
you,
Pass.
Right, Game Pass, and then, something like Battlefield, which I don't know. But if they can make that work, I feel like that solves many of their problems this holiday. It makes a big difference.
The DICE is playing friendly with Xbox on Twitter. There's lots of emojis being sent back and forth.
Yes.
So the teasing is out there.
DICE will be there with Battlefield, absolutely. Like that, that's why they moved it. That's why they were going to do it in early May, and now they're doing it in June, doing their first tease. They'll do that right before E3, and then at Xbox they'll have Battlefield. Like they moved it because Microsoft says, "Hey, come be in our E3 thing," and they did that in the last few weeks. So I don't know if that means like, that they've solidified a deal for Game Pass, but clearly they've solidified their partnership even more, and so hopefully they make that work.
I've got a couple questions for you, but I want to stop here on the Battlefield thing because I brought it up in Discord and immediately had several folks like, that's impossible. And I understand it. Battlefield's a big game, right? Like it feels like that would be a lot of money. And I'm worried like if it went to Game Pass, that means losing money. But Jeff, I mean, you've said this before, so I'll just echo your sentiments. There's a pitch here, like they're in a Call of Duty, Fortnite, Apex. Battlefield is not, it's not just this like the second fiddle. It may not be the fourth, the fifth, the sixth fiddle. Halo, right? Like it might be dropping down the ladder here. Game Pass is a really good shot in the arm to making sure that you definitely have players. You have a big amount of people that are playing on day one in a very crowded market. Is that enough for them to at least consider Game Pass?
I think so. I think everyone involved is considering it because the market has changed so much. And yeah, you're right. It's not second fiddle Call of Duty anymore. It's dropped down the list. And even if it were free to play, it would have dropped down. It's going to drop down that list. It's not even going to be free to play. The multiplayer is not going to be free to play. It doesn't seem like that's a possibility. So then what do you do? Like, what do you do? The only realistic option to really... Oh, I just hit my desk. It's going to change on me. Okay, all right, never mind. Sorry, my standing desk just freaked out on me. That's fine. This is good.
Technology's great.
I would have loved if you had to stand up with it.
Yeah.
Like, I got it. I got it.
No, I got it. I'm going to keep up with it.
He's pulling his chair to slowly...
God, I lost my train of thought. But basically, this is a game that needs something. It needs to be in front of people in some way, somehow. And I think the most realistic option is Game Pass. And I say realistic as in I think it should happen. Whether or not they can actually make it happen is a whole other thing, a whole other conversation. It will be a lot of money, but it's not an astronomical impossible amount of money because EA does need to do something here. They need to have an answer for when investors say, hey, why did you sell a $60 multiplayer mode against a free-to-play Fortnite and a free-to-play Call of Duty Warzone and a free-to-play Apex Legends? It seems like you're not even trying. What are they going to say to answer that? Like, well, I guess we'll make it free-to-play. But if they don't do that, the only other option clearly is Game Pass. So I think there's a chance. We'll see if they make it happen.
If that came true, I'm not even a Battlefield guy, but if that came... Here's the thing. I usually always go Call of Duty. I just like the way the guns play. But to be honest with you, if Battlefield's in Game Pass, I'm going to play Battlefield instead of buying Call of Duty. I'll buy Call of Duty, cheaper down the line, but it's like it's in Game Pass. That's such a big deal. That'd be huge.
Yep. I think it can make a big difference for everyone involved.
Okay, I got a couple more questions for you. One from the chat that we got specifically, Halo. Do you think it's November? September? Do you have an idea?
I bet that we don't even get a release date other than holiday.
Ooh.
I swear, and I've been long fearing that because they've been real quiet. And
that's going to make some people big mad.
After what happened the last time they showed that video game, I don't think they want to count their chickens. I think they want to give themselves all the room.
I think everyone is very gun shy right now. I mean, we saw it with Horizon Forbidden West yesterday, and I think we're going to see it with Halo as well in a couple of weeks, where they're going to say holiday. And listen, people might get upset, but what is in it for these companies to say a specific date? Like
nothing.
They're still going to say holiday 2022, which is even more than what Sony said for Horizon Forbidden West. They didn't even say a year. But yeah, people are going to. It's going to make people unsure about the state of this game. But for one of these companies, like they are thinking, if we need to move it back 2 weeks at some point. Why garner that bad press when we can again.
They've had a rough go,
It's just not worth it because it's not going to hurt them. They're still going to make as much money if they don't say the release date as if they do. And so what are you like? What you get out of it? The only thing you get out of it is risking people getting mad at you for delaying it a couple weeks if you need to. So
absolutely.
We'll see.
I mean, like Halos have been November games traditionally, yes. Like that's was that their dates? They used to make a big deal. Halo 3 and the 7-Elevens. It's always been November, I want to say. So like
I think that's right.
In my head, I personally didn't have it as any earlier than that, but it does not behoove them to be like November 6th and then miss that date a second
Especially
time.
with the Game Pass. Like you're not they're
Shut
probably
up,
not judging pre-orders as a metric.
They don't care anymore.
With
they'll have
Game
a banner.
Pass, it doesn't matter.
And as soon as they decide to set the date and they can fix it, they'll put a banner up when you boot up your box. Like, hey, guess when it's coming? And they solve the problem. Like it's not the same as it was many years ago where you had to set that date for marketing in stores anymore. Like you could tweet now and be like, it's coming out tomorrow. And people lose their minds. So.
Yeah, well, Nintendo does it all the time.
Yeah, great at it.
Jeff, will Bethesda address the Ghostwire Tokyo Deathloop-sized elephant in the room at this show at all? Like, will they mention that it's coming to? Will they get an update about those games? Because I feel like we still don't know much about Ghostwire Tokyo at all, really, and it's supposed to be out in October?
Yeah, they won't at this show because, if they were just having, if there was an Xbox show and then a Bethesda show with like a small break in between, like it was supposed to be a few weeks ago, maybe they would have done it. But this is an Xbox show, and it's an Xbox show featuring Bethesda. And that means that Bethesda is going to have a couple of games in there, and they don't want to talk about the rest of their games that are further off. They just want to talk about stuff they're going to have relatively soon. And then they're going to get off stage, and they're going to go get back to work on those games. They're not going to talk about the stuff they're doing for PlayStation here. That's just not going to happen. I say that maybe if they have like something announced about like PC, maybe it's in PC Game Pass at the same time or something like that. Maybe they were able to make that work with PlayStation. Maybe they talk about it like that, but I doubt it. I doubt we hear about those games here. If we hear about those games, it'll be at some Sony summer state of play in July or August or something.
That was my thought too.
Yeah.
Like, why would Microsoft let them do that? That doesn't make any sense at all. It's like, this is our show.
Why would PlayStation might not even want them to bring it up at an Xbox?
I know people are asking. I just see it, so I thought it was worth addressing.
Yeah, no, it's worth doing. Yeah,
it's worth addressing. And then this one's just for me before we get into our listener questions. Jeff, is there any Wolf 3 hope? Just can we let that go until maybe next year or something, or is there any hope?
I'll say that I've been asking because I've been very interested in hoping that we get this game soon, and I heard it wasn't going to be there at E3, and but now I'm hearing conflicting stuff, not from any of my direct sources, but from people that I think are pretty tapped in, and they're getting their hopes up and saying that there's still a chance, and so maybe, but I'm gonna
let it go.
I'm going to let it go too.
I'm going to let it go.
Temper your expectations,
let it
y'all.
go.
I am going to, yes, I'm going to tell Indy to let it go and drop the Grail. And yeah, let's just, hopefully it'll show back up one day and we'll get to kill Mecha Hitler and things will be right in the world, but we'll see. We have to wait and see.
For now, play the ones that are on Game Pass again because they're still good.
I might because they're so good. Yeah.
They're still good even this many years later that I'm just like, let's do Nazis. Let's murder Nazis again. Yep. Yeah. Man.
Okay. Well, I for one, we didn't talk about our housekeeping, but before we get into listener questions,
yes.
This is our last show before E3. I'm going on vacation. I'm gone for a week. I'm not going to play video games. I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm not going to be on Discord. I'm unplugging. I'm not doing the video game thing.
Good for you.
I'm taking the week off as well because I've been burnt out, and we figured we'll both come in fresh and hot and spicy.
That's a good idea.
This.
Yeah, and we were thinking like, when we come back after next week, right, we could do the show Wednesday, but then 4 days later, we're going to have the E3 show. So it's like, we're coming back E3. So Jeff, thanks for coming. It's a great little send off.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just want to say before we get to listener questions, I'm ecstatic for E3, even with all these things said and laid out in front. Like, I want to see, I'm not a Halo guy. I want to see what Halo is. I thought Halo Infinite, I liked the demo. I'm never going to not say that. I liked the demo. I thought it looked cool. I'm probably more excited for Forza Horizon. Like the idea that Forza Horizon is soonish, whether that means, early next year, this fall, whatever. Just having that on the horizon, pun intended, sounds excellent. Oh, Jeff,
Johnny, get out of here. You're not allowed back next week. After that.
I have this podcast.
Even if
I forget. I had one more question.
How dare you?
I'm tracking tons of indies that, I have this list that I'm always tracking.
Sure.
I'm waiting for The Artful Escape, Tunic, 12 Minutes, As Dusk Falls. We had a question from a listener for one that I'm going to read to you, but like, I don't even know if you would know this, but can we expect like an indie sizzle reel, some Game Pass stuff? Like, hey, do you think is Tunic possible for this year, or is it like crazy?
I think that Tunic might be unlikely to show up there. I don't know if that says that game is super far off, or if they just have found other avenues to speak to their audience and they don't necessarily need to wait for Microsoft. But I hope it's there. I do think there will be a sizzle reel. I do think but I think it's going to be stuff like Scarlet Nexus and The Ascent and stuff that's definitely in Game Pass. So if it's in Game Pass, I think it'll be in that sizzle reel.
Half of the last year's Game Pass announcements from that Xbox Series X presentation have still not even come out.
Right. Yeah. So we need some updates on that. Yeah.
Like Scorn. What was that? What's the ninja cyber shooting gun? What was that game called?
You're gonna have to be so much more specific.
I forgot the name of the game. It's what they opened with.
I don't remember though. I don't remember the name.
I don't remember the name.
I think that Bright Zero.
Yes,
like
Bright Memory, whatever.
0 hour, something like that. Yeah,
that never came out.
Just
either.
a bunch of words.
Sure,
it's all
words with a colon somewhere in there.
Bright Infinite.
In the...
Yes. Yeah. There's like half of those games from last year's show we never got dates for. So I would hope. I think we can fill the calendar with a lot of that stuff. We can get dates.
I think that's Microsoft's intention here. Like, here are a couple of things here's Halo. Like I said, this is the Halo and Friends show, right?
Yeah.
To me, because Halo is their thing, and they're really, really leaning. And I know that they really are depending on that for their holiday. And
they have to.
Yeah, dude. So it's like, here's Halo and Friends. It's going to feel like that. And I'm okay with that because the friends are friends that I want to hang out with on Game Pass. So.
And we got I think we have to maybe reset our expectations for what these things even are. Because I'll say, the thing I always say now is, don't expect it to be like PlayStation 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the last time a PlayStation E3 was like that good as well. They've changed how they do things as well.
Sure.
Now they do state of plays, and those state of plays are very much like, here's some big announcements, but here's also some games we're literally just trying to sell you. Here are some just commercial-ass commercials.
Yep.
And there's going to be, that is what these things really are when it comes down to it. They're using this as a marketing point on their calendar to be like, people are paying attention. We have to deliver so that people don't get mad. But we also can't pass up this opportunity to sell people some video games. So you're going to get Flight Sim coming to console. You're going to get an update on Grounded. You're going to hear about Psychonauts 2. which is going to be coming out relatively shortly after that. It's not going to be Shadow Drop, but you'll hear about it shortly after that. They'll talk about Age of Empires 4, which they've announced already. They're going to talk about these games that we already hear about that are coming soon, that they're just going to play a commercial for. That's what this is. And so when I tell people to temper expectations, that's kind of half what I mean. Like you're going to see a good half an hour of the show. At least. Yeah, don't angry tweet.
Pops up.
Yes, exactly. You should know better. That's what these things are. And so when it turns out that's what you get, don't be upset. But I still hope that people are happy with the show that they end up getting from everyone involved, from everyone at E3 and beyond, because I feel the same way. I want these shows to be good. I want them to be exciting.
Yeah, that's the whole, for us, it's like, this is early Christmas, right? That's how it always feels. And I know that we all follow games and we all want to, pick it all apart all the time. Mm-hmm. But it's fun to be excited about the damn hobby every once in a while, Right. So I always want the show to be good for everybody involved, PlayStation, Nintendo, I don't care. Like, show me video games that make me excited. That's what I want,
Yep.
So.
Yep. Listener questions. I want to start with the first one we got on Twitter. They wanted to ask if you've ever heard anything, any idea whatever happened to the last night from Tim Saray. I know a couple years ago he got into some issues or whatever. Yeah,
he said some pretty heinous stuff, and then kind of came up, and he sort of didn't. I don't think he handled it too well. I was that night that happened. I was hanging out with the PR team that was working on the game were friends of mine. And we're hanging out, and I walked up to them while it was all going sideways on them, and they just looked like they got hit by a truck. They were just like, "Oh, this is not good." My guess is that again, when that sort of thing happens, if you don't sort of make amends or sort of acknowledge the where you could have done better, it makes things more difficult. It could probably be pretty easy to feel discouraged and make it hard to see a game like that through, especially if you go to try to contract out work and say, "Hey, can you help me with some art?" And then that artist is like,
nope,
if I work with you, people are going to ask questions. And that happens. It sucks. But also, that means when something bad happens or you do something bad, you got to handle the situation right and make it right quickly. It's just kind of a lesson to be learned there. I don't know specifically what's going on there. This is just all me speculating. I hope it reappears. I hope that because I don't think that person was necessarily a bad person, but he definitely could have handled the situation better.
Yeah, I know. The last I remember hearing on it was 2 years ago. I think he was trying to secure funding, and I don't think he did successfully at that time. So. I'm not expecting it at any point in time.
Right.
Lane, you can take the next one.
I'm going to take a fun question because it can't all be serious business with Jeff here. Brendan wants to know, this one's for Jeff, what is better, shampoo or conditioner? I would like to amend this question with 2-in-1 or 2 separate. This is an important conversation for people with hair like this, okay? And we're continuing it this episode.
I rarely shampoo my hair because I live in a very dry climate, and the shampoo just absolutely destroys my hair.
Big same, dude.
Yeah, always. It always has. But in Colorado, where there is it's always 0% humidity. We don't have to worry about things like bed bugs and stuff, apparently, because it's they don't like the dry climate. What I do have to worry about is just my hair turning brittle and getting all messed up and stuff. So I almost always just use conditioner, and conditioner's better, definitely.
Heard it here first. Also, 2-in-1s, don't do that. Even if you're a dude, don't do that. Just don't. No, even you, don't disrespect your hair. I'm saying, stop it.
I do the shampoo 2-in-1. In my defense, it's just what my wife buys, so I use it. It's what's there. I don't care.
Yep.
I mean, I get that too. Do you also use it as your body wash? Because I've seen some things that I wish that I could. Oh my god.
I do.
So it's 3-in-1, you mean?
It's just soap, right? You just put
no.
soap
well,
on.
It's actually not. It's a detergent, and that is different. But we don't have to get into it.
No, well, we're not going to break this out. But the fact that you now use a 2-in-1 as a 3-in-1.
Jeff coming out hot. You're going to learn today.
You're going to learn. You're going to get some facts with me. You invited me here. This is you brought this upon yourself.
I looked at the questions and I was like, I want to ask that one. That's the day. Look, it can't all be serious business videos. Everybody wants to ask you serious business. Donnie, no, see? He plays the Renegade first and uses a 2-in-1 as body wash, y'all. You're a monster.
You're going to be in prison a year from now. I can just tell. I can tell.
I got to call the FBI after this.
Yeah.
I
see your future, man. It's not bright.
I'm deeply upset by this situation. All right.
Memory infinite.
Donnie, ask a serious question since you're a monster and I can't.
Let's see. This one's fun, I think. Blaze Knight wants to know, With Xbox now extra large lineup of first-party studios, what gaps do you think exist in their first-party lineup? We know that they have racing and shooters locked down. What else do they need to do to round out the offering for Game Pass?
In terms of like you mean like get a first party studio making a certain kind of game because they don't have it. I don't think there's too many gaps. I think what they want is all these studios to be experimental. They want to see like, yeah, Obsidian, make the games you're good at, but if you want to go experiment and make Grounded, do that. Let's see what can happen, because I think they realize there is a chance to be the kind of company that does make the next Minecraft. That's a very hard thing to do. Most of the time that comes from small studios experimenting in Steam early access these days. That's where that stuff comes from. But if you maybe let some of these companies kind of go a little bit wild and try something, I think, and kind of approach it like EA has begun letting Respawn do it, and EA suddenly has an Apex Legends on their hands because they let Respawn be Respawn. I think that's their hope, and so like just filling in genre holes is not how they're going to approach it. I don't think. I think they are going to let developers and creatives lead their teams first. That's going to lead to issues where these companies are maybe prototyping for a bit too long, and maybe there are stretches where there's not enough games coming out because all these companies are kind of trying to be as as creative as possible, and so they'll have to kind of crack down on that side of things. But I think they're going to try to come up with new stuff mostly. I think they're going to try to come up with stuff that feels new and then kind of do the stuff they're good at. So these studios will still make, like all the RPG studios are going to keep making RPGs. No one's going to complain about that. No one at Microsoft will complain. Gamers won't complain. But you might see these studios try more new and different things. And I think that's the right approach.
I want to spin the question a little bit further too. I have long since discussed with Donnie on a couple of episodes how I feel like there's a Game Pass gap for like E for everyone type of games. Like,
yes,
there's a miss there, and is that something that they really need to fill in to maybe make this more sustainable for younger folks or for a family plan? Like, I think there's a gap there.
That was going to be I knew you were going to go that way, so my answer was going to be I would say the same. There's a part of me wants to say the same thing for horror games. I know they've got Tango, but we don't necessarily, know what the future is there. But I think the answer to that isn't to buy more studios. The answer is to partner with folks. You can fill those gaps without buying a studio. You can get a ukulele. You can get Bloober Team to do the medium. You can get stuff like that to fill those gaps. Especially. I don't know about the family side stuff because they do have Minecraft and Minecraft Dungeons and all that, but like on the horror side, those don't typically sell all that well, comparably speaking. So there's no real point in I don't think in owning a studio just to focus on that. It's almost probably more financial sense to just grab an indie or something like that and release them that way.
It exists as a way to use studios for what Jeff was hinting at too, potentially, like be creative, but try to fill this gap. Like, can you fill this gap with some of your creativity? Because I do think filling that E for everyone gap might sell more subscriptions for like somebody who's like right on the edge. Like, there's a ton of shooters and stuff like that in Game Pass. There's a ton of adult content in Game Pass. We lack. I have an 11-year-old, 9-year-old kid. Like, I would get them subscriptions even without a family plan if there was more stuff that fit that.
Well, I mean, we see this. This is what Netflix and Prime Video, like half of their stuff that they put out, like people don't realize is kids content, because
very successfully.
Once your kid gets attached to a show on one of these platforms, you can't get rid of. I can't get rid of any of the things that I have now. Yeah, I got HBO Max. They watch now a bunch of Cartoon Network stuff on there. And
I got Disney Plus for 2 years and I've never used it.
Right, I should have just prepaid like for 3 years of Disney Plus when they made that option. And so I think the same could apply to games and to what Microsoft's trying to do. The problem is like making family games is kind of challenging.
It's very hard.
Nintendo seems to be the only company that does it well. And a lot of people, it's like the one company that people also trust. Like, you put out Super Mario Party and it's whatever, but people like, I know my family will probably have a pretty good time playing that, and then I know what to expect. It's going to be a Mario game. It's going to be like, I'm not going to be upset after buying this game, and that's how most families think about it. And so they kind of go for what's safe and what they know, and it's hard to put yourself in that position. It's hard to like just build that up out of nowhere. I think that probably does mean not acquisitions and not trying to do it first party. It probably does mean going out making those third-party deals, or maybe a first-party publishing deal like Xbox Global Studios, and having a studio that does have Traveler's Tales at WB now, the Lego games, they might be looking for a place to go if this whole thing kind of falls through. And like Traveler's Tales could fit in well, and maybe they don't work on the Lego license anymore, and maybe that's a problem. But maybe they could work on a Minecraft and start doing Minecraft like.
Hey, Rare's got
games.
10 IPs that they could take a shot at.
There's a grip of IPs that they could bring back too. Like I was thinking about that. Yeah, like I do. This is one of those interesting things where if you have an adult in the house with Game Pass like me, I'm looking for a reason. Just give me enough reasons, you know. And then you get a kid in on Game Pass early enough, you'll carry that customer for quite some time.
Yeah,
forward,
exactly.
You know, so it seems like not a missed opportunity because it's a hard thing to do, but something that's worth their time and investment potentially.
I think they'll figure that out eventually. They right now they're just trying to lay the groundwork, make the whole thing work, and then they'll be like, that is something we need to tackle eventually. But if they right now, if they kind of get the hardcore gamers used to this idea, they'll be fine and in a position where they'll have time to figure out what it means to like create a Game Pass that is for the family. But it is going to be a challenging thing to tackle. So we'll have to see how they do that.
All right. Let me pull one. This one's from Ryan. Do you think, this one's an interesting question to me. Do you think Microsoft would make Forza Horizon 5 exclusive to the Series XS? What game would compel gamers to make the upgrade because of its unavailability or performance on the Xbox One?
I'll say that it's very unlikely that Forza Horizon 5 is going to be exclusive to X and S because they've been working on this game for a while, and it's not kind of getting the rework that Motorsport is getting. Motorsport will be just on the X and S. Yeah. This game is the last of the Xbox One games that will also be on Series X and S, and then the next one in this series will get all of the reworks that Motorsport is getting right now. That's what's happening. So, but in terms of like answering like what is going to be the game that's going to make people want to upgrade, I don't know. It's I think we'll probably start seeing those games drop next year, and I don't know. It's tough to say because who knows what is even going to come out next year. I guess Starfield, but I think Starfield's probably going to be cross-gen too, surprisingly.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but I think it probably will be. But I think once we get past, but once we get past Starfield, I think we'll start Perfect Dark, things like that, all that stuff will be Xbox Series X and S exclusive. And by then, most people who are very into Game Pass, which is the concern here, the people that are on Xbox One and have Game Pass, if they see a game isn't on Game Pass, they're going to cancel because they're like, well, I can't even find an Xbox Series X, and I'm not ready to upgrade. And you're going to you're not going to let me play these games. That seems kind of messed up. I guess I could play on my phone, but I have an Xbox. Why can't I play it on my Xbox? They don't want to put people in that situation where they're thinking like, I'm getting left out because I'm not upgrading fast enough. By then, most of those people that they'll be worried about will have upgraded, and we'll just kind of just happen naturally. Yeah, if there's enough.
I'm wondering, does that provide some motivation to bring streaming to consoles sooner than maybe?
I think it might. I think so. Yeah.
So you can still play them even if you don't upgrade.
Right, and I think that's going to just hinge on getting the Xbox Series X blades out into servers, right? Like right now, it's all Xbox One S stuff, and so they're going to put the Xbox Series X servers in there this year. And that stuff's going to be very, very good. It's going to be very good. It's going to make Stadia look pretty like kind of crappy in comparison. And it's going to have overhead for doing really good encoding for video. It's just going to be a really good experience compared to what we're getting right now. And if that works, and if that works on your Xbox One, it solves a lot of problems. And then they don't have to worry about keeping those people involved. That will keep them involved.
Yeah, that's been my expectation since before they launched. I remember we saw some like insider briefings, I think from Sony and stuff. Like these companies have been preparing like a slower transition to next gen than we've seen in the past. So, and especially with how rocky these consoles got out of the gate, I don't see anything being exclusive to next gen if it doesn't have to be. Like if it's at all possible.
Yeah. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah. And the thing is, it's
not enough.
The adoption is pretty much on pace with where they were last gen.
Yeah.
The difference is, so like 7.8 million PS5s compared to 7.6 million PS4s at that point in the life cycle. So it's like a little bit ahead. The difference is that going from PS3 to PS4 was a huge jump in architecture as opposed to PS4 to PS5. And same with like, Xbox 360 to Xbox One and then Xbox One to Xbox Series X. These are the same systems, just with beefier hardware. They're all just PCs now with better graphics cards and better CPUs. And so if you are making a Mass Effect Legendary Edition, you're just going to put it out on Xbox One and PS4, and it's going to run on those and the next hardware, but you're not going to do the work to release it even release an Xbox Series X or PS5 version. It's not even worth it to do that. Like, not even do cross-gen games. I think it's going to take some time for us to feel like, oh, we have fully moved on to the next gen. There will be games that are, I mean, we've already had a couple, especially from Sony. Ratchet & Clank is going to be PS5 only.
Sure.
But for the most part, it just doesn't, for most companies, especially third party, it just doesn't make sense, which is why the backward compatibility of Xbox has been so good in so many of these cases.
Yep. The next one that I want to pull, it's a fun one. Brandon wants to know, this isn't what you think will be at E3, right? Jeff, take the hat off. I want to know what you both are wanting to see at E3 this year. What are you excited for? What's got you daydreaming?
Well, I just want to see the goddamn Switch Pro. Just show it to us.
Yes.
Just let's just get this thing over with.
I think they're all there. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just get it out there so we can move on with our lives. That's what I want. I mean, it's hard because I think I do have a pretty good idea of what's going to be at Xbox. So but if I was to say, oh, what would I really want to see? I would want to see Avowed. We'll see if that's going to show up. I don't know if it will. That'd be really great if it was going to be there. I think that game, is probably not going to come out in 2022. So I think that's probably why they wouldn't. But I'd still want to just kind of get a better idea of what it is. That's one of those games where it's like, okay, if you just have a CG trailer, that's more. We just kind of saw a title treatment basically. That's all we saw. So can just show us a little bit more. I would take that.
Just a slice of concept.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I want from Xbox.
That'd be great. I'd love to see a little, like first person, third person, like HUD menus, world setting. What does it look like? Just, even 10 seconds of something like that would be great. Mm-hmm. The thing that I'm most excited for besides the Switch Pro, I think, is Wind Waker. I really, really want Wind Waker on my Switch already. So I'm kind of dying to see that happen already. And then on the Xbox side, I'm ready to see Forza. Forza's got me really excited. I've been thinking about this one for a long time. We've talked about it on the show. We've all three of us have talked about it on the show.
I'm excited.
So I'm really excited to see Forza.
Way back when. That was like one of the first places I ever mentioned it. And I think back then, I might have been speculating. So it's like, yeah, like I was like, it just makes sense that's what's going to come. And now it's like, oh yeah, no, that's what's coming.
And that is exciting because, Forza Horizon 3 was so special, and Forza Horizon 4 was very, very good.
3 is super cool.
But 3 was special, and I would love to find, another 40, 50 hours of that sometime this fall or early next year. That sounds excellent. So, what about you, Elaine? What do you want?
What do I want? What am I frothing for? Is this question if I could choose anything?
Yeah,
is that
I would say 3, but I let it go.
I'm letting that go.
Let it go.
Boy, this is tough. I'm really excited about Forza Horizon 5. So that seems like a cop out because I want more of that. I would like more Doom. If I had a perfect world, look, I know who the hell I am. I want more Doom. Like I love Doom Eternal and I love Doom 2016. Like, give me more Doom. Give me remastered Doom 3. Bring it into that new engine with those levels. Give me Doom. All the Doom. I know I'm not going to get it, but like that would be really exciting. Like that's just a hype moment for me, and I like those. So
nice. I think this is a really great one to end on, especially considering some of the folks that are in chat. With the new rumors of a new Nintendo Switch releasing this fall, combining with the previous rumors of some sort of Microsoft Nintendo partnership, would we hear about it later this year? Has your prediction changed? Is there anything to this partnership? What was redacted, Jeff?
Yeah, what was redacted? My guess is the redaction is they had conversations about all the stuff that everyone says that they're talking about. They probably are talking about Game Pass on Switch, and I bet I don't know what was redacted. My guess would be the things that were redacted were the official positions of each company about why this would work and why it wouldn't, and what they would need and what they would absolutely not allow, and it would just be stuff like that, like. We appreciate Microsoft coming to have this conversation with us, and here's why it doesn't make sense for us right now, or here's why it does make sense if you do this, this, and that. And those things will probably be like, you can't have third-party games on Xbox Game Pass. You could have Microsoft first-party games. We understand then that's going to cause pricing confusion, and so we will help with that. We'll help you figure that stuff out, or that's your problem, and you figure that out. It's those kinds of things. I don't think that deal is anywhere near reality still. I think the conversations conversations happen a lot. These are all businesses. They're just doing business, and all the things, all the like the fanboy stuff that we harbor about, like, well, they wouldn't work together and they wouldn't figure this stuff out, and that would never happen. That they don't care about any of those things. They just care about, like, does this build value for our investors, and does it not damage our brand? And so when someone says, hey, can we have a conversation to you about making money and not damaging your brand, they'll take those calls. And I think that's more than likely what was redacted. I do think, though, that Microsoft's been laying the groundwork in other ways where they were like, hey, come get on Azure. We'll give you a good deal. We're really good at gaming in the cloud right now. Even Sony's doing it. Nintendo, you just lived through a pandemic where you finally realized you need the cloud. Come on, let's do this. And you know, if something else happens, you know, if one thing leads to another after that, that'd be great. But I think that's more likely what we're going to hear about soon. It's like Nintendo using Microsoft's cloud infrastructure for this and that or whatever. Honestly, it might even just be like, it might just be Microsoft Office stuff and Azure for business, and like putting all their stuff in the security. It's gonna be that.
It's gonna be boring.
Yeah,
let's look at it's business, right?
And it's like, but honestly, for Nintendo, that's really exciting and different and new, because they would never have done this a couple years ago. But when a pandemic and work from home happened, they were like, oh, a thing called the cloud exists, and we could be working from home and have access to all our documents securely. That's weird. Like they never even like considered this a thing to do before the pandemic, and now it's like, okay, they might do that. So it might start very small and boring, and that might build into something bigger down the line. I'm sure that's what Microsoft is hoping for.
It's good. We have Nate Drake in the chat. He says, can you answer my question about Halo? I scrolled up. I didn't see a question about Halo. I didn't know if this was inside. Is this insider chat knowledge?
No, I don't think so.
All right. I just had one hit me. Since I'm going on vacation, I'll call this my freebie.
Oh, okay. He says, Jeff, do they know about the pressure of the visuals of Halo? That's what he's asking.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yes. I mean, if you're asking if they're feeling the pressure about that, yes.
They all acknowledge that with the Craig thing. I want a Craig edition so bad.
Don't.
I want a Craig statue.
Don't speak that crap into existence. What are you doing?
It. Do this Craig statue.
You're
and I want it to be flat too. You know, like that'd be fantastic.
I'm learning a lot about you today, and I'm not.
Well, I'm with him on this one.
Oh,
yeah,
I told you, gamers went too far with it.
Craig. Yeah,
like I get it. It wasn't the greatest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah, and there was
Halo
texture
Infinite
pop in,
looked
but who cares?
Fine. I would have played the hell out of the game. It looked fun. Jeff, this is a very like anniversary laden year. One of them just happens to be Grand Theft Auto. Have you heard any rumors? Are they doing anything in the back catalog with that?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll put this, like, is anything out on Switch? Like, are any of those games? Yeah, so maybe something like that happens. Maybe they put a collection together and they add a bunch of extra stuff in there.
I've been hoping for that for a while. That's why I'm asking. I don't know. I'm not sure. All right. Well, thank you so much, man, for coming to hang out with us for 90 minutes as we
Dude, you're a hero.
Take off.
No, this is great.
You're always a blast to have on, and you put up with my dumb hair questions. Look, I just need to have someone who understands.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. No, this is
I obviously do not.
Look what I have to live with. Look, I have to live with this troll monster who uses his 2-in-1 as a 3-in-1, and I don't know how to live with this. I need a t-shirt that's...
It's not soap, Donnie.
It's not soap. I need a t-shirt that says, Donnie Reese says, it's just soap. Use it for everything. Down the back. And I'm going to go cry now. So again, a reminder to everybody listening. First of all, thank you again, Jeff.
Yeah.
As always.
No, yeah, this was great. Thank you for having me on. This I'm getting excited for E3, so any chance to talk about it, honestly, is really great. So,
let's go. I'm pumped. Another reminder, Empire's taking a week off next week. We will be back for the E3 showcases, and don't worry, there'll be content. Follow people on Twitter. I'm ET Dragon. Donnie is Eat the Hype. Jeff, are you just Jeff Grubb? What the hell is your Twitter? Yep. I did it right the first time. All right, now let me give a quick shout out to our on-air producers. Michael Masick, Barry Cathcart, Edwin Callow, Stephen Keller, Nick Creature, Rude Days 93, Ben Moxham, Robbie Manuel, Nick Fallheber, Paul Calicote, Kyle Heyman, Grouchy Surge, Devin Tyus, Josh Bourbon, RJ Kern, Horse Girl 69, Zach Adams, Joseph Wilson, and Drew Agnew. That's everybody. Donnie, do we have anything else to discuss? I think that's everything.
It does it, guys. On vacation. I'm out.
Dude, all right. So we're out for a couple weeks, and until the next episode, play some video games, y'all.
See you at E3, guys.
Peace.